Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and today I want to chat with you guys about something that I see a lot, and it's this whole ludicrous idea that people have that lifting weights doesn't burn very many calories. And the problem with that is that this is one of these things that fall into the category of being factually true, but extremely misleading and completely irrelevant to the topic. Completely irrelevant to the topic. And what people need to understand is that what we're dealing with is everything from NEAT to overall activity level that is a downstream effect from weightlifting. And this should be apparent when you look at the numbers that people throw out, and then you compare that to what you see actual lifters who track their calories and body weight report their maintenance to be. And I'll give you guys a perfect example. My maintenance calories are over 4,000 calories a day right now at 220 pounds. My body weight doesn't change very much through the year. I stay around 220 year round, and I have for all of 2019, right? Stayed in that range. Now, people can argue whether they think I'm fat or not all day, but that's really irrelevant to the topic, isn't it? What's relevant is that I burn over 4,000 calories a day at 220 pounds with minimal changes in weight. Now, if you take people's calculations, they will say things like, well, a pound of muscle only burns 5 calories a day. And a single rep on a 405 deadlift only burns about 100 calories. So if you did 5 sets of 8, that's only about 40 calories burned. So before long, people start coming up with ludicrous ideas like the muscle tissue you have only changes your energy turnover by 100 a day, and your daily weightlifting session only burns 200 calories. And if an average man needs 2,000 calories for maintenance, and someone who trains really hard, who's put on 30 pounds of muscle tissue, only has a maintenance of 2,300. Okay, that's the sort of theory and math that this micromanagement would dictate. Well, what's the reality? Everyone who's a serious lifter who doesn't cut all the time burns over 4,000 calories. It's really common. That alone should tell you that these calculations are wrong. And the reason they're wrong is that they're micromanaging minutia that's completely irrelevant. And when people make these arguments, they do so to try to appear to be intelligent. They're trying to create arguments with other people, because I get it in groups I'm on online, on social media and stuff. I will get these goofy evidence-based dweebs who've never approached a 500-pound squat or deadlift in their entire life, who will try to argue these points. And then you're like, I have to look at them and say, I really hope to God you never coach a client in your entire life, because you're too stupid to do so. For all of the books that you've read, you do not possess the intellectual capability of coaching a lifter. You need to stay in your lane. Because the reality is, all these little calculations don't matter. Buying a device that helps you track your daily calories doesn't matter. This stuff is a waste of time and a waste of money. And the people who do this thinking they're being intelligent are actually proving that they're not particularly intelligent, or that they are very ignorant and inexperienced in the field and area that we're talking about. Because when I can test something in the real world with real lifters, and it is dramatically different than your hypothesis, it shows that your hypothesis is probably based on ignorance. And people who base hypothesis and arguments on ignorance are not particularly intelligent, even if they believe themselves to be. And this is the problem. And people will say, well, why do people burn this many calories? Well, here's exactly the point. Because the human body doesn't work the way that we think of a blast furnace or a machine. In other words, if you were to take a machine and measure the energy output required to move that 405 for 8 reps, it might only be 8 calories. But what happens when a human being does it whose heart rate goes up? There's a psychological response. Adrenaline goes up. Their body creates a thermic effect due to a hormone cascade through their body as a result of doing 8 reps with 405. Because I don't care what lift it is, for the human body to move 400 pounds for 8 reps on any exercise, it doesn't even matter what the lift is, there's going to be a very large systemic response. And that systemic response is going to burn more calories than the actual moving of the weight did. I mean, we know that you burn more calories just breathing. If you were to get really excited and hyper, you'll have a large thermic effect if your heart rate and breathing go up, even if you're not moving. Well, what do you think the lifting 405 for reps does? And what do you think doing 500 for a single rep does? You don't think there's a large response in the body? Like, look at me there. I'm in an air-conditioned room. I'm doing singles, 1 rep. I'm sweating in that video doing these deficit deadlifts. I'm sweating. It's wintertime and I have the air conditioner on. There's more than 1 calorie being burned there. So we have that to deal with. Then you have to think about all the other factors. Yeah, we could argue all day long that a pound of muscle only burns 5 calories, and so gaining 30 pounds of muscle might only change your resting metabolic rate by 150. Yeah, well, somebody who's gained 30 pounds of muscle has a lot of leg muscle. What happens when they stand up and walk around? All right, someone who has 30 pounds of muscle gain probably burns twice as many calories just walking or sweeping the floor or walking down the street to go to the corner store or to walk their dog or to check their mail. All right, they burn double the calories other people do due to the leg muscle. Most real lifters train their legs. Let me rephrase that. All real lifters train their legs. Except for the real lifters I've met who only have one, then they just train their one leg. But point's the same. That one leg's usually pretty strong. A lot of muscle in it. You burn more calories just moving around. Then we have to think about the fact that people who lift heavy weight, again, let's come over to the point. To lift 405 for 8 reps on any exercise, you've probably gained a ton of muscle. And I don't mean that literally. There's going to be autists who freak out. A ton is 2,000 pounds. He's a liar. Okay. You guys are not intelligent either. So, over to the point. Over to the point. You've gained a lot of muscle. What else is entailed by training really hard and heavy with high volumes and having a lot of muscle? How about a really high food intake? Usually a lot of protein. Protein has an enormous thermic effect. Your food in general has an enormous thermic effect. And when people think about, well, lifters need to lay around and rest all the time, right? Because they're recovered. No, they don't. That's bodybuilders who cut all the time. The people who you see laying around a lot who are tired from training are people who are in calorie deficits all the time. Calorie deficits make you lazy. In short, and I'll say this politely, it's true, and I'm not meaning it to be facetious, but people who try to get lean all the time, who are always trying to lose weight, tend to be really lazy pieces of shit, even if they're bodybuilders. You know why? Because it's their survival mechanism. Being a lazy, worthless, useless piece of crap is a survival mechanism that keeps you alive when you're in a deficit all the time. It's a good thing. Because, I mean, it's better to be lazy than to be dead. It's your body's mechanism to keep you from starving to death. It makes you lazy. People who aren't doing that all the time tend to be really active. People who train for 2 hours a day and who eat 4,000 calories a day aren't tired and lethargic all day. You tend to get up and move around and do stuff. You have much, much higher needs. So you combine all these factors together, and what do you find? We start finding very quickly that things that you think only adds 100 calories here or there starts adding 1,000 calories. It adds 2,000 calories. Because it's normal for lifters at my weight range to have 4,000 plus maintenance. That's actually really common. And it doesn't work with these other calculations. Because these calculations are people trying to micromanage things that don't matter. They're completely irrelevant. You want to know how to find your maintenance calories? Weigh on a scale first thing in the morning consistently and track your caloric intake. No, I'm not saying track macros. I actually think tracking macros is an eating disorder. And I think it makes you neurotic if you're not already neurotic. And yes, I have clients who do it, and I let them do it anyways, but I don't think it helps them. I think it's bad for them. That's what I've noticed also, that all my clients who have a history of body image or eating disorders are all obsessive macro trackers. That's not a coincidence. two things go hand in hand. But you can track your calories, and you can tell if the scale is going up or down. You know if you're in a surplus or maintenance. Well, if you know you're in a surplus or maintenance, you can start dialing in your maintenance calories real fast. And what people need to understand is that's dynamic. That's dynamic. It changes based upon energy intake. In other words, being in a surplus a lot and training with a lot of volume will make your actual maintenance go up. And the opposite is also true, the other direction. It's also true. That's how you determine your energy turnover. And is it perfect? No. Will it ever get it perfect? No, because we don't have the tools to perfectly measure your exact caloric output in a dynamic environment. We can do it inside of a sealed room. We can't do it in a dynamic environment. We don't have the technology. We don't even have the technology to track your calories to the calorie that you eat. You don't even know how many grams of carbs you ate today. I promise you that you don't. Your digital scale doesn't give you enough information to do that. You can ballpark it. You can know that you ate somewhere between maybe 180 or 220, but you can't say that you ate 205. You can't say that. So we can't measure any of these things exactly. But tracking average caloric intake and average scale weight over the course of a week will tell you a real good idea of your maintenance. It'll get you in the ballpark. And that's actually the most accurate tool we have. But instead, you have actual literal idiots who believe that if they can calculate, well, this amount of muscle should add this much, and if you lift weights, this will burn this much. That's so moronic and so useless that I really hope that no one who thinks that way is actually trying to coach people. I really hope they're not. Because it's not going to work out very well. Alright guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.